2. Jaws 2 has a number of cut scenes, deleted scenes, even important dialogues, scenes that I really find incredible. Don't worry, my followers, friends and viewers. I will make you see everything, even the unreleased video in almost all the countries of the world. I have it. So, I know, if I know you well, that you are very interested in the horror bloody scenes. Don't worry, I will make you see all the horror bloody scenes, cut scenes, and the movie. Every 5-6 minutes there were deleted scenes without any reason, because there are horror bloody scenes. I will show you all the cut and deleted scenes, but also interesting and unlosable dialogues. I'm not talking about boring dialogues that I won't show you too, because they are unuseful. For example, not a true dialogue, but two speeches between Michael Brody and the father, Martin Brody, or some words that are not so unlosable. But according to my humble opinion, these dialogues I will show you. Don't worry, at my personal computer I have everything. And when I say everything, I really mean all the very rare videos, all the horror scenes, and all the, I'll show you only the very interesting and unlosable dialogues. Absolutely not to cut. I'm really stunned. I don't understand the reason why the director decided to cut these interesting, important and deep dialogues. They weren't absolutely to cut, in my humble opinion. So I will show you very rare videos and documents, and also the video, almost, as I told you before, unreleased all over the world, because they say that only in a DVD of a specific nation there is this video. I have it. And I will show you that, and also I will make you see very rare documents and unlosable behind the scenes. So I start with Curiosities, that then I will make you see also these curiosities in rare, incredible videos. I start. Jaws 2 was released in the United States at the cinema the 16th of June 1978. This time the director of the sequel of Jaws, Jaws 2 wasn't Steven Spielberg but Jeannot Szwarc. Now I tell you a curiosity that Steven Spielberg and Jeannot Szwarc have in common. First of all, I want to remind you that Steven Spielberg didn't like Jaws 2, but they have in common not also the fact that they worked on Jaws. The director of Jaws 1975 was Steven Spielberg, but Jeannot Szwarc also collaborated. And then Jeannot Szwarc is the director of Jaws 2 1978. Another thing that Steven Spielberg and Jeannot Szwarc have in common is that they have been the directors of an episode of the TV series Columbo. Yes! As I told you in the documentary about Jaws, Steven Spielberg was the director of the first episode of the first season of Columbo, titled Murder by the Book, and it was absolutely a masterpiece episode. But also Jeannot Szwarc was the director of the first episode of the third season of Columbo. This episode of 1973 was titled Lovely but Lethal. I can tell you that it's not a masterpiece like the one of Steven Spielberg, but I suggest you to watch Lovely but Lethal because it's a very good episode by Jeannot Szwarc for the TV series Columbo. The movie was the co-screenwriters of Jaws 2 were Carl Gottlieb and Howard Sackler. I can tell you that even Jaws 2, even if it wasn't the masterpiece like Jaws by Steven Spielberg, is also considered a cult. And it has become a cult, even Jaws 2, because it's not only considered the best sequel of Jaws, but also one of the best sequels of all the sagas ever. And I can tell you that, as I told you before, Jaws 2 has too many deleted scenes. Not only horror scenes, but also very important dialogues. And the length of Jaws 2 is 1 hour and 56 minutes. But the very first version of Jaws 2 without cutscenes was 2 hours and 12 minutes. And it was in VHS. And I can tell you that all the cut I found, all the cut scenes that I will show you at my personal computer. And also deleted scenes and very rare documents. Another thing that Steven Spielberg and Jeannot Szwarc had in common was that they didn't want Jaws, and so Jeannot Szwarc had the same concept for Jaws 2, was that they wanted to shoot a movie that was a suspense, thriller, adventure movie. And they were afraid that too many other scenes could make it a slasher movie. They were really afraid, but I think that Jeannot Szwarc was more scared than Steven Spielberg, because Steven Spielberg of course cut some scenes, and I can understand above all the brutal and the crude scene of the death of little Alex. But I don't understand why Jeannot Szwarc cut some scenes like the famous for us fans scene of the helicopter, where the helicopter pilot has been eaten by the shark. The helicopter pilot was about 30-40 years old, so it wasn't a baby like Alex. It wasn't a taboo. And if you do a movie with a killer shark, of course that somebody must die in the movie. Of course, for fiction, but you can't delete almost all the horror scenes, and that scene wasn't even so brutal. There are more cut scenes that were very horror, but not the one of the helicopter. This is the reason why I'm really skeptical, because not exaggerate talking about slasher movies. This was above all because the plot of Jaws 2 was completely different by the plot of Jaws, because even if in Jaws 2 the shark kills people of every age, tourists, but the preferred target to eat were the teenagers, or boys and girls were 18 years old, 20. So that was the period of the slasher movies, like for example Halloween in 1972, the last house at the Sinister. There were many slasher movies in the 70s in which the target were teenagers or young boys and women. So they were so afraid that jobs could be exchanged for a slasher movie that, in my opinion, Jeannot Szwarc cut many scenes. But I don't understand. Okay, he cut those scenes because he was terrified to do a slasher movie. But these dialogues have nothing to do with slasher. They are just dialogues that are very important, and other dialogues are funny. And I will show you those dialogues. In my humble opinion, these dialogues weren't boring, but very interesting. And they gave more comprehension of the plot and completeness. That would have made Jaws 2 considered a masterpiece, the great masterpiece, if there were at least some other scenes more and all these dialogues. Absolutely. You will understand better when I go deep and make you see these dialogues. Were very, very important. The musics they were made always by John Williams, who won the Oscar of Best Soundtrack in 1975 with Jaws. In Jaws 2 stars Roy Scheider, who shouldn't be in Jaws 2, incredibly, and soon I explain you the reason why. We find again the very beautiful Lorraine Gary, who plays the role of Martin Brody's wife. Murray Hamilton, Mayor Larry Vaughn, who played a few in this movie because he was hit by a tragedy that I will explain you soon. And then, this time, the unfriendly businessmen who don't care about if children, tourists, people of different ages can be killed by a ferox shark. The businessman who also put his eyes on the very beautiful wife of Martin Brody, and he only thinks about business, as he states himself in the movie. I'm talking about Len Peterson, played by Joseph Mascolo, is the unfriendly character of the movie, and not Larry Vaughn, the mayor. Then in this movie there was also the icon of beauty. She was really, really the beauty. I'm talking about the actress who played the role of Tina Wilcox. I'm talking about Anne Dusenberry. Absolutely wonderful. Then there was Billy Van Zandt, who played the role of Bob, the guy who was wearing eyeglasses. And now I tell you immediately a curiosity that then has been cut in the unfortunately has been cut in the cut scenes. When the character of Bob enters in the movie, he introduces himself like the son of Quint. Do you remember Quint in Jobs? Of course, Quint, the unfriendly, arrogant hunter of sharks that in the end dies in a very terrible way. He dies brutally eaten by the shark. And in this movie, Bob should play the role of Quint's son. And at the end of the movie, also Bob had to die. Like the father, the scene was completely different. But the result was that even Quint's son had to die. Then it has been cut that Bob was Quint's son, and the scene of the death eaten by the shark of Bob has been shot. And then I'll show you that. There are also Bob played the part even in the end of the movie when he is attacked and brutally killed by the shark. So this scene has been completely cut and almost deleted, because then the director thought that it was not a very good taste to make also Quint's son to die, so Bob survives. There were also other actors like Mark Gruner, who played the role of Michael Brody, and many others. This is the tagline was very important for the success of the movie Jaws 2. This was the tagline. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. This tagline became one of the most famous taglines of the history of cinema. And also the movie Jaws 2 was the sequel, and so the biggest box office success of the history of cinema as sequel, and also a box office success in 1978, near to this huge success of Jaws 2 was a box office winner in 1978 year. Very near was Grease, with the mythical John Travolta and the poor Olivia Newton, because she died some years ago. and she was still young and beautiful. So it's I don't see I don't think it's necessary to tell you the plot of Jaws 2, because all of you, my followers, fans, viewers, you are interested in watching all the deleted scenes, all the cut scenes, the almost unreleased video, all the very rare behind the scenes of Jaws, and much more. So you are not here to listen to the plot of Jaws 2, of course, but I tell you only some so other curiosities before videos. On October 1975 was asked to Steven Spielberg why he wasn't the director of Jaws 2 too. And these were his exact words. Making a sequel to anything is just a cheap, carny trick. So, and I can tell you that also he was already working on his masterpiece, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, another masterpiece by Steven Spielberg. So then he was talking about aliens, not sharks anymore. So the models, the mechanic sharks, the models of the mechanic sharks of the first movie, Jaws, especially one, was used even in the sequel, Jaws 2. But that shark could be used, but the valves were already ruined. So there have been built three new mechanic sharks. One was called the platform shark, called also with the name the luxurious shark. The scenographer Joe Alves and the designer of the mechanic effects succeed in using again the same shark of the first Jaws, but they had to work very, very hard to settle new electrical components, because the first one had been removed from the original model. Then, a curiosity. Do you remember, of course, the island cable junction that looked like a kind of prison island, in my opinion? It didn't exist. It was the production that decided to build the island cable junction, because it was to facilitate the movements of the platform shark. So, cable junction was actually a floating barge covered with fiberglass rocks. It was a platform. The barge was a platform floating. So, the other two new sharks were a fin and another mechanic sharks whose movements were facilitated by the boats, above all of the guys, of the teenagers, all those boats. Okay, now let's talk about the mythical Roy Scheider, who didn't want to play in Jaws 2. He was almost forced, even if you don't realize that, because Roy Scheider has been absolutely perfect also in Jaws 2. This means to be the actor, a very great actor. And I still cry because Roy Scheider died in 2008 at only 75, and he still didn't win an Oscar, and instead he deserved at least an Oscar. So I want to remind you this great actor, because he was a great actor, a great human being, as many actors will tell you in their videos I will show you soon. And so I want to remind Roy Scheider with great affection. Roy Scheider wasn't enthusiastic at all to play the role of Martin Brody again in Jaws 2, because he was playing in the set of the movie. Now that we are talking about another masterpiece, The Deer Hunter, the movie with Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep. I watched this movie many years ago, and I remember that I thought, just a great movie. In fact, I wasn't wrong, because at the time I didn't know that The Deer Hunter won 5 Oscars. I was right to say that it was a very good movie. Of course, it was a war drama film, so it's not funny at all when we talk about tragedies, because this movie was very, very crude and also crime, because wars are really wars are always evil. Only peace is the solution for everything. This movie was a very great movie, but Roy Scheider left the set only after 2 weeks. from the beginning of shooting the deer hunter, and the official explanation was because of creative divergences. So, Shader had signed before a contract with the Universal to shoot 3 movies. So, Universal proposed Roy Shader that if he had accepted to shoot in Jaws 2 the role of Martin Brody again, it would have been like shooting the 2 movies he had to shoot by contract. So, Roy Shader accepted. Then, there were very heated quarrels with the director Jeannot Szwarc. They quarreled very often, and they even arrived to talk about what they didn't stand about each other with writings, with letters. Nowadays, you know that many stars like actors, actresses, singers, and so on, they attack each other with the social networks like Twitter, Instagram, and so on, also in Facebook. But at that time, they did the same with writings and letters that other people could read also in newspapers. This was Roy Shader about Jeannot. What he wrote. To work with Jeannot Szwarc is to realize that he will never say to be wrong, and he will never admit to close an eye on some things. This is, for me, a bullshit. And, moreover, Martin Brody, Roy Shader asked the excuses by the director not to have consulted him. This was the other letter of Jeannot Szwarc replying to Shader. The time and the time and the pressure make part of my reality, and I have to agree with my priorities. You have been consulted, and your suggestions have been parts of the scenes in many occasions when they weren't too much in contrast with the established project. If you have to be offended, I complain because no offense has been done. At this point of the game, your thoughts and my ones are not important. The movie is the most important thing. Sincerely, Jeannot. So, you see what the two actors their quarrels, and also finished in these letters. In the cast, always Lauren Gary, and now Murray Hamilton, who played briefly the role of the mayor Larry Vaughan, unfortunately had to shoot immediately the scenes in which he had to be, because he was hit by a disgrace. His wife was in hospital in New York because she was seriously ill. She had a very serious cancer. So when Murray Hamilton told this terrible fact to Jeannot Szwarc, immediately Jeannot Szwarc told Murray Hamilton, now let's do your scenes in a couple of days and then fly to your wife in New York in hospital. And so they did. Jaws 2, you noticed that there wasn't Richard Dreyfuss, the actor who played the part of the nice marine biologist Hooper, because he was playing in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and the director was Steven Spielberg, so he couldn't be in Jaws 2. The movie was shot again. I want to remind you, for all the people who haven't watched my first documentary about Jaws 1975, that the island of Amity doesn't exist. It's a fictional island. So in this Jaws 2, they started to shoot the movie again in the island of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. But the greatest part of the movie was shot in Navarre Beach in Florida. Above all, for the depths of the ocean, ideal to facilitate the movements of the sharks, especially the platform shark. As I told you before, the island of Cable Junction was built. As I told you, the island of Cable Junction was a floating barge covered with fiberglass rocks. But once the anchor broke, and not only the island, but also the cast with the guys, they were all going adrift to Cuba. So, and it was caught in time. It's a very incredible curiosity. So, in that situation, when the actors and the actress screamed out, cried out, they were desperate, they were terrified. The crew, who was filming from afar at the beginning, they didn't realize that the young actors and actresses weren't playing, because when they saw that they were screaming, they were terrified. Oh, they are playing their parts very good. No, it wasn't so. It was because they were going adrift. They were surrounded by true sharks, hammerhead sharks. They are not so aggressive like white sharks, or the most ferox one is said to be the mako shark, but they were only teenagers, and they were very young. So when you find yourself going adrift to Cuba and surrounded by sharks, of course they were screaming. And one of the actors stated, we passed by the movie into a real and really creepy nightmare. I think that we had run the risk to be eaten. Maybe even if there can be a hammerhead shark that is very hungry and normally, but fortunately nothing happened. The producers had to ask the permission of the Department of Environmental Regulation of the state of Florida to immerse the platform in which was controlled the mechanic shark, especially the platform shark in the ocean. The budget for Jaws 2 was $30 million, and at that time it was the most expensive movie for the Universal Pictures at that time. I want to remind you that the shark is different even if it's always the mechanic shark is always a white shark. But the director thought that in the first Jaws there was the suspense before really see how the killer huge white shark was made. Instead, his purpose in Jaws 2 was that the audience had to see how the shark was made very often. But he decided in the beginning of the movie, when the motorboat explodes and the shark survives but remains scorched, and the director used this word, the shark with a scar face gave him an aspect more scary, creepier, absolutely terrifying, to scare more the viewers. So, here we are. Let's start with some deleted scenes. I go.
Smile and look cute. Go. Come on. There's a guy in a brown jacket.
Hey kid, they're playing our song.
Oh, they are.
May I have this dance? Sorry, I'm all booked up.
You know, Len would like to turn this whole area into a marina complex.
Len?
You're jealous. You are.
Now he's gonna get it.
A ticket.
Oh yeah.
He's my boss.
More better yet. Whoa! Wait a minute! Ah, here he comes. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Ah, this is a heck of a way to treat a taxpayer. Well, then I think 2 warnings are enough. I know, but I was only parking here for a second. Brody, I went inside to get my briefcase and I was going to take right off. Can I see your license and registration? You're kidding. No? Honey, don't you have any pull with the chief here? Oh, would you please take it out of the plastic folder? I don't believe you. Thank you. I don't believe what's going on here. Listen, honey, before I forget, do me a favor and get a sales kit ready for after lunch. I've got a couple of prospective buyers that I want to take up, all right? And these people are serious buyers. Look, Brody, can't we fix it so that we make this into some kind of a green zone or something? Well, pay the $2.
I think that these cut dialogues were absolutely to keep, because there was the unfriendly Len and the jealousy of Martin Brody towards his wonderful wife, and then at the end Len got fined by Martin. So why cutting this funny dialogue? And now I go on. This scene, these videos deleted were very important, because it's when the Island Council must decide the destiny of Martin Brody after his shooting on the beach, thinking to have seen a shark. Instead, there were only fishes. And you will see that Larry, played by Murray Hamilton, hit by the fact of his wife seriously ill in hospital. He played very well in only a couple of days. This is the reason why I find a kind of injustice that these scenes have been cut. This is my humble opinion, and then I will show you immediately. Here we are.
That's it, that's the one.
Brody's a good man then.
Nobody says he isn't.
Well, you should have been there. Should have seen him. Waving that gun around like some kind of a maniac. My God. I mean, there were shots fired.
He thought he had a good reason.
But that's not rational behavior.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
There were a lot of people there.
Hundreds, literally hundreds.
Larry. Larry, look. I'm a businessman. I'm out to make a buck, just like everybody else. So you can't do it that way. Do you understand? The man is a menace, plain and simple.
Look, what am I supposed to do? It's over. It's done. Now we have to deal with the consequences.
Well, then let's deal with them.
All right. I believe we have a quarrel.
His personal attack on me.
I've never seen him like this.
Hendricks is a qualified deputy. I say that we use him.
We've made a motion and it's already been seconded.
Very well then. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Anyone opposed?
Martin, could you come in, please?
As I told you, it was really, in my opinion, it was really important, this island council, and the fact that this time Larry finally trusted in Martin. So it was a pity to delete these important scenes. And now let's go to the horror scene. You, I guess, you can wait for watching the helicopter scene. I'm sincere. That scene should remain in the movie because the pilot of the helicopter dies, but it wasn't as so scary and or a slasher scene. So you can now I show you the rare uncut helicopter scene. I go. So, this was the scene. I think that it shouldn't be cut. And now I make you see other deleted scenes, and it's the moment to see the unreleased video that it results to be only in the Brazilian DVD. Only it looks like that this scene is only in the Brazilian DVD. So there is also people who ask, is there somebody lucky to have this version in English? Because nowadays it is found only in the Brazilian DVD, of course, spoken in Portuguese. So I make you see the scene, and this is, I can say this is unreleased scene almost all over the world. And now I make you see. I immediately make you see. I arrive.
Tubarão 2.
Don't worry. I arrive to the unreleased scene. I arrive. Here we are. Only you can see the subtitles in English because there is only in the Brazilian DVD, at least nowadays. If somebody finds it in English, communicate.
Foi só o que consegui encontrar. O quê? Uma câmera submarina? Bem, é só isso. Vamos lá.
So, it's incredible that this scene is always in the, maybe always, because many people are looking for at least an English copy and they can find it. But I showed the scene. Now, as I told you at the beginning of this documentary, the character of Bob had to be the son of the hunter shark Quint, died in Jaws. So it's not only deleted the introduction of the character of Bob, but Bob, at the end of Jaws 2, he had to die in a very brutal and bloody way. So I make you see the cut scene of Bob's death, that it has been deleted because, according to the director, it wasn't a good taste. So he deleted it and Bob survives. Now I immediately find you this, I make you see also the original photos about the original photos, not only the video, snapped on the during the shooting of the movie. Bob's death. Bob, played by the actor Billy Van Zandt. Here we are. I make you see the scenes. Wow! I make you see first of all the scenes and then the video. Let's start. Bob had to be, when they are near to the island of Cable Junction, here the shark arrives and brutally eats Bob. This was the scene snapped during the shooting of the death of Bob, and then it has been deleted. And now another scene, the bigger scene. Here we are. Do you see Bob? Now you see, and in this moment the shark arrives and devours the poor Bobby. Deleted, and so Bobby survives. And now I make you see the video. Unfortunately, in this case, the video in part has been got lost in some parts. So, thanks to the computer, it was possible to rebuild the complete scene. I go. So this was Bob's death scene, bloody and deleted. So Bob, as I told you before, survives. And then let's pass to the famous death of Eddie, Tina's boyfriend. You must know that the death that nowadays and also many years ago you see about Eddie when he falls into the ocean and Tina notices the fin, so she starts screaming, "Eddie, there's a shark! Swim! Swim!" So, in the end, Eddie had to be in a more brutal way, because when he arrives at Tina's boat, he tries to be helped by Tina, but when Tina gets close to him to make him get on the boat again, Eddie was half. He had no legs. You must know, of course, that the complete edition got lost of Jaws 2 lasted 2 hours and 12 minutes. And also at that time also my mother for the first time with VHS saw that horrible, brutal scene. Then they decided to shoot another Eddie's death, less brutal. Okay, full of suspense, bloody, but you don't see Eddie half, with the body reduced half. Then the movie started to be remastered and remastered again on more than a VHS and then in DVD, and that scene got lost. Fortunately for you, I found you the quite impossible. The photos with Eddie with half body. And then I will show you also the restored scene. Now, I immediately start. Here I am, Eddie eaten by shark. Poor Eddie. So, this was, I immediately start. I only want to add that the scene of Death's Bob has been also shot with 2 different boats. The boats of Tina were 2, and you can notice very well, because in Eddie's death, when he tries to get on the boat again, and then he has been completely eaten by the shark, the boat was lower, Instead, forgive me, when he tries to get on the boat, and then he has been, of course, as I told you before, Eddie, the boat was lower. Instead, in the first death of Eddie, forgive me, because I had a tongue problem. I want to explain myself better. In the scene where Eddie dies with half body, the boat of Tina was higher. This is the reason why he slips down easily, and then he has completely been eaten by the shark. Instead, in the first death, the boat of Tina was slower, and even with some flows, so that Eddie was getting on boat when shark grabs him, and he remains half. I immediately make you see. So this is the scene in which the guy Eddie in this scene is the scene you can watch on DVD and also on TV, and you can see that the boat is lower, so that the poor Eddie starts to get on Tina's boat, but then the shark completely devours him, as you can see. Instead, in the terrible scene I'm talking about, the boat was different and Eddie was half. Here it is, the cutscene in which Eddie is trying to be helped by Tina and is half. As you may see, I make you more knitted the scene. As you may see, Eddie is already half. Only Tina thinks that there is still a possibility, also because Eddie is still breathing, but he has no legs anymore, and it's half. As the same actress who played the role of Tina, the magnificent Anne Dusenberry, who stated in her last interview, poor Eddie, he had to die with no legs. And he was a good guy. And this was the original scene. And as you may see, it was Alf and the boat of Tina was different. I think that the scene was, of course, brutal, okay, but I prefer it. I don't want to look sadistic, but how can you, this is another scene, how can you cut some scenes? You see it? This is where Eddie tries the end of Eddie. And then I make you another scene of Bob that yet to be Alf. Really rare. Here we are. It's in black and white. So you can see that this was the original scene, then replaced with a scene of Eddie completely devoured by the shark, and not the brutal scene in which Tina sees his loved boyfriend Alf. And now you understand better what I was talking about when I told you that there were two boats, because it was impossible to do the same scene with that. In fact, I make you see again. This is the photo in which Eddie will be completely devoured by the shark, but he won't remain half. And as you can notice, the borders of the boat were different from the boat I made you see before. This was another curiosity. And then, now I will show you the restored scene of that is a bit longer than the version of some years ago. The scene, the DVD, has been restored, so I can tell you that by now I am in Italy, and in Italy I watched on TV, even if I have also the restored DVD, in Italy transmitted the whole restored version of Eddie's death. Of course, Eddie is not half, but the scene has been restored, and it's the scene from DVD. I don't know, my followers, friends all over the world, in which version you can watch Jobs 2 on your TV, because I'm talking about Italian TV. I'm also talking about American TV, but I don't know in all the countries of the world if this scene is more complete. But I immediately show you the restored longer scene in which Eddie dies in front of her very, very beautiful girlfriend Tina. Now I go and now I immediately go. Don't worry. Don't worry, I arrive in a second. I arrive.
Out with the blanket. You really need a blanket, huh? I don't need a blanket. Hey, I can get a carpet for you. Or we can do something else. Well, here's your blanket.
So this was the restored version, and according to some friends of mine, a bit longer than what they saw on TV. But not all the states are the same, because I can tell you that I watched Jaws 2 in Italy even recently, and the scene was completely this one. So you must know that this year it is the 45th anniversary from the release of Jaws 2. So there have been more restored DVDs on shop and so on. And for this 45th anniversary of Jaws 2, the actress who played the role of Tina, the beauty icon, I can tell you, fortunately, that she is still alive, and she's 70. But I was very surprised, because the actress, whose real name is Anne Dusenberry, did an interview, a very interesting interview, only a few months ago, on June 2023. So you can see how Tina, whose real name is Anne Dusenberry, interviewed, and she reveals you and makes you see all the other cutscenes that involved her. And I can tell you that Anne Dusenberry is still very, very beautiful. She's still magnificent, gorgeous, really. 70 years. I thought that she was 20 years younger. She's still very, very beautiful, friendly, and interesting what she reveals you in this interview, in this recent interview. Now, I make you see the most important statements of this interview last June. So she will reveal you many unexpected
Guys,
things.
welcome to another exclusive
So I'm
interview on
very
Baby Jules.
happy
What is
to
the
make you
anniversary
see Anne Dusenberry and all the scenes cut where there was air and other curiosity that she reveals you. I never knew them, and I suppose many of you, of course. So I start.
As it were. So no, I think I just channeled the old high school days and remembered what that was all like.
Watch
that piece.
how
And
Anne
I want to be clear.
Dusenberry is right now 70 years old. She's absolutely gorgeous.
Miss Amity. She wasn't Miss Amity to begin with, I don't think. The recasting that occurred involved a rewrite as well. And in the rewrite, I became a co-star. I was just one of the kids in the original cast. And for some reason, I don't really know, they said, we want to write this character bigger. So they did. And so then she became Miss Amity. But I guess in the final analysis, yeah, I just channeled the old days of high school.
It's fascinating that you say you hadn't seen the original Jaws. Because one of the questions we've asked all of
the interviewer is asking if she had already watched the first Jaws, and so
having not seen the movie, did that make it easier from a from a pressure point of view, or did you not feel any pressure because of that?
I felt no pressure, and that was good, right? I mean, I knew everybody thought it was an amazing film. And I just didn't go see it until I was cast. I did go see it after I was cast, so I could understand where I was going. But as far as getting the job, one, I didn't need to audition, which was kind of a privilege, right? I mean, God knows it's a industry of try and get rejected a lot. So I wasn't even having to try. I just got it, but I did go see it afterwards. But the pressure wasn't on when I got it. It was just like, do I really have to go do that? Do I really have to leave LA that long and be on location? Oh, really? You know, I was trying to negotiate not doing it. So, yeah, hadn't seen it. I didn't know what I was in for. It's pretty silly when you think about it.
Well, that's incredible to say that you didn't want it, but you've actually put in a fantastic performance. Before we come on to your sort of specific scenes in the film, what did you think of Jaws, the original, when you did see it?
Well, yeah. It's just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I mean, just the opening sequence took my heart out of my chest and rocked the world. You know, it's the terrible fear. I was really myopic as a kid, really myopic. So I had imagination about what was in the water before I saw Jaws 2, because I couldn't see it. I couldn't know what was there. I still have that. I don't go in the ocean a lot. We have a place in Mexico. My husband built a little surf retreat for surfers. And I go down to Mexico 3 times a year with him, and I don't go in the ocean hardly at all. People are like, why? You don't surf? No, I don't surf. Do you like to swim? Yeah, I swim in the pool. I don't go in the ocean. It's just not my thing. I'm a desert rat. What is that thing in there? What are all those things in there? So yeah, Jaws impacted me, as it did everybody. And there isn't any backing up from that. It's impossible to not recall that they're there, that sharks are there. And I don't think they're vicious.
She's also very, very nice, friendly, always gorgeous, and I agree with her. When I can, I prefer swimming in the pool because I always thought like I completely agree with the actress. And now, one thing I didn't know is that she risked to die after the scene of the famous scene of Eddie's death. She risked to die because the crew didn't realize that she was in a great danger. She risked to die from water spouts, and now she makes you see really rare photos of her in many other Curiosities. Now I go.
Now there is one other cast member that you got to work with quite closely who isn't with us sadly anymore, and that's Gary Dubin, who played your sweetheart Eddie. Gary passed away sadly in 2016. What was Gary like, and how was it to work with him?
Poor guy, I will just say that in so many ways. He was thrown into the water, and we all had already been together in the cast. In large part, not everybody was of the old cast, but a good part of us were, and already bonded. It's kind of like the kid that comes at the end of the line in a family. He was sort of like, oh yeah, then there's Gary. Oh yeah, then there's Gary. You know, he had to work with that, and that wasn't easy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Was a really sweet man, and he wanted to do everything just great. He was really committed to make a good job, and he did what every actor does. I swear, I don't know this for a fact because we never had the conversation, but he didn't know how to sail. None of us did, but he said he did. Because that's what actors do. Do you ride a horse? Yeah, absolutely. English or Western? Both, you know? I mean, that's just what we say. So he was saying he knew how to sail. I know he didn't know how to sail because when we were finally in a big, huge scene in the vineyard in a regatta with all these other boats around us, he looked at me and he went, I can't do it. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do it? And he goes, I don't know how to sail. And I was like, what? Yep, what? So, okay. So it was all like, let's pretend you do, you know. And he was a good guy, but he was doing what we all do. And I swear he probably swam, but he didn't know what he was in for with that dragging through the water, flailing as if the shark had him by the, legs. And the poor guy was really put through his paces. And I just sat on the boat and went, oh my God. Poor guy. He was a good man, but he did get put through the paces, and it was hard on him.
Yeah, we heard the story that apparently he couldn't really swim either. So
and I don't want to say that.
Sail, he couldn't swim, and he's starring in a Jaws movie.
Yeah. But you know what I think, and I don't know if anybody has said this either on your show, but I think Jeannot cast him because he identified with him. Jeannot with his curly black hair, Eddie had curly black hair,
Yes.
kind of, unassuming character, and so is Jeannot in a way. And I feel, there was a identification.
Identification.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame that I interviewed Jeannot first, because I would have asked him that question. I can drop him an email, I guess, and find out.
Yeah.
You also shot a really, well, for me, that's one of the most exciting shark sequences in the whole franchise of the Jaws movies. Obviously, when Eddie is killed. What was it like filming that sequence, and was the shark as much trouble as it sort of historically has been?
Yeah, the shark was a lot of trouble. It was a mechanical nightmare for the crew, for us just waiting, just waiting and waiting and waiting and wondering and waiting. It was just long and arduous, and when it really worked, when there was the capacity for the shark to do the thing it was impacting, really moved through the water when they pulled it through, and the impression was the fin had us, It was a big deal. Yeah, no, we felt like we were right there in the water and it was happening to us. So, yeah. And it was well done because there were those moments of quiet where nothing was happening, just as there is in the film, where it's like, what was that? What happened? Where's what? That really is how it felt at the time after the dragging through the water that we did. And then the thing with the side of the boat where he grabs the gun rail and it breaks off, that took a really long time. And we kept having to glue it back and do it again, and glue it back and do it again. And if you look closely in the film, you can see the seam where we had to glue it back 6 or 8 times to have that scene covered fully and well. And poor Gary had to keep doing that. It was a hard job he had.
Well, apparently, sometimes when you guys were sort of left on the boats, and maybe things were getting a little bit cold, you guys were in the elements and stuff. Apparently, you would be comforted by a bottle of brandy.
Did you hear about that? See,
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about that. No, there was a time that was unfortunate in a way. I mean, there were water spouts. I don't know if anybody here knows what a water spout is, but it's a spout of water versus wind. So in a tornado, the wind is whipping around in a circle, carrying whatever's in it up. And when that happens over the ocean, it becomes a water spout. So those are really dangerous for boats or humans. And they told us in our learning about sailing to look for those in the Gulf because they happen a lot. And there were times the barge with all the crew on it were at a distance, and I was in my little boat waiting for the shot of whatever, and I could see in the background behind me, or somewhere adjacent, like 3 water spouts. And we all had walkie-talkies, and hey, you guys, check out right over there. There's water spouts coming. I can't stay in the water by myself out here. And they were like, we'll get there. We'll be right there. Don't worry. Everything's cool. We're almost there. We're almost done. Go ahead. Just hang out. We'll be there. And I was like, guys, no, really. They're not supposed to be with us in the water. Anyway, bottom line is they sent me out a bottle of, I think, Courvoisier to just
That's
chill.
the magic word.
So she was the amazing, still beautiful and also friendly and Dusenberry last June, so a few months ago. And now I make you see very rare videos behind the scenes. They are very incredible. And now, are you ready to watch very rare behind the scenes of Jaws 2? Okay. First of all, I want to remind you that the subscription on my YouTube channel has been, is, and always be for free. I'm not paid for shooting this documentary, and all the videos, from movies to documentaries, from video clips to songs, all the videos you can watch on my YouTube channel have been, are, and will always be for free. And now let's watch the memory that the director Szwarc had about Roy Scheider, with whom he often quarreled. I go.
I had Roy, and you know, Roy's a sensational actor. But at the beginning of the film, he was not very happy. I don't know if some of it was due to the fact that he didn't want to do the film or whatever. But once we got into the film, then he was great. And he really delivered.
Listen, do me a favor. Act as if you've been here the whole time.
How do I do that?
Just look bored.
Lorraine, I knew and I'd worked with
So,
before.
Brody, how are you?
now,
Hello,
I want to show you how the sharks were made. It's incredible nowadays to see how perfect were the sharks of the 90s. And so I immediately go. Don't worry, I found the point.
Couldn't care less about my career.
Here I am. So we are very, very close. Okay.
It was fantastic. I had seen some of Michael Butler's work, and then we established a relationship immediately. And then his brother, David Butler, did a lot of the second unit photography. And suddenly we realized that the ocean, Mother Nature, is nothing to make fun of.
Out of the water! Out of the water now!
It was incredible, the punishment any kind of equipment would take the minute you went into the water. And we were in the Gulf of Mexico, which means there were days where we had huge waves and we had one timer mount, which was a mount with a gyroscope that you put the camera on, and even if the ship is moving, the camera will stay horizontal no matter what. And then we had this round contraption that we put in front of the camera, the thing that turns very, very fast, so we'll prevent spray from going into the lens. So all the shots that involved the big shark, when they were combined with bad weather, became really a nightmare. You take a sequence like where the sailboats start turning over. Each sailboat was anchored underwater, and the shark was on this 3-ton platform. So then we'd bring the shark and put that in the middle, and then you'd pray that the wind wouldn't change. Because if the wind changed, you had to start from scratch. I kept saying from the beginning, we must show the shark a lot. Because that image of the shark coming out of the water for the first time, it's already happened in the first one. That is never going to happen again. And it was interesting to me because everything I kept hearing a lot was, don't show the shark. Joe Alves, who was the production designer on the first one as well, had brought Bob Matty out of retirement to do the shark for the first one. And Joe had a lot to do with it too. Here, it was more ambitious.
We used the same molds, so we didn't have to remodel the shark. But all the interior structure, all the valves and the electronics and stuff had to be redone because the sharks from Jaws 1 were put out on the back lot, unfortunately, and just left to rot. It made Bob Matty develop a very, very complicated system. And we had basically the same process of a platform shark.
That was the expensive shark. We used to call it the luxurious shark. And the reason that the area of Florida had been chosen was because it was the proper depth. So first you sunk the platform, then you put the shark on top of that platform, and it was on a sort of little train, guided like a missile. One other alternative we had was we had a fin, a big fin that was pulled by a boat.
We did a faster sea sled fin, which we used for the water ski sequences and some of the fast boat sequences.
they had also a life-size shark that was pulled. That entailed a whole new series of problems, which was that whenever you wanted to shoot the shark approaching, you had to wait till the boat that was pulling it went out, and you had to hope there weren't going to be any ripples, and the angle was perfect. And then we asked them to try and fix that shark so at least it would open the mouth and do something so it looked as if it were going to bite. So that we would have an alternative whenever there would be problems with a luxury shark. We all agreed that what had been done could not be duplicated because the opening of Jaws is extraordinary. I think it's the strongest opening of any film ever made. But then I said, let's make it then very beautiful, you know, very sort of ethereal and strange, like another world. So then I think Carl came up with a very good point, that to try and make it a plot point. And then the value of that opening came instead of just being a titillation
now
to tell the audience there's a shark. We didn't do that.
Make you see another important behind scenes. So I go
would work later, which is the photograph. Come on, do.
Here I am.
He came up with a thing that worked. What he did was this. He licked the inertia by not starting on the water. He took a catamaran and he stripped it, and on top of it he put a small stage crane. And at the end of the stage crane he put a helicopter bubble. And then we put the operator on his belly with the camera, and then we started gaining speed, and when we reached enough speed, we'd lower the stage crane into the water, and then we'd start shooting. And that's how we got that shot. And then the second part of the sequence, which is when the shark gets burned, then it was just trial and attempt with, you know, when the fire starts and the proper amount and the right angle for the shark's head to come out. A lot of the wide shots were done by second unit.
The fact that the shark was scarred in the first attack, the first surface attack, again gives you a little sympathy for the shark. He's just eating and somebody, you know, sets off an explosion in his face. And it gives the shark a more characteristically villainous expression, you know, Scarface the shark.
Is out there all right? It's a big mother, too.
And here it is, another curiosity.
8-foot lighthouse. And it gave us really a New England look. We always planned the lighthouse for long shots or, you know, close. And then Jeannot asked me to get a shot, second unit shot of a boat coming and turning left. So I thought it'd be great if I could get up above the lighthouse and shoot across the lighthouse. So we're up there on this gigantic crane. And as I got up there, I realized that the top of the lighthouse wasn't finished. It was just like bare plywood. And I couldn't shoot that. And I couldn't put a report as that the second unit director refuses to do the shoot the set because it's not finished. Being the production designer, you know, it would be sort of embarrassing. But they started to get very windy. And second unit cameraman David Butler, I said, it's pretty windy up here. He says, yeah,
So,
I don't know if it's such a good day to shoot this. It's good.
it's incredible that lighthouse didn't exist before, as you may see, it didn't exist before shooting Jaws 2. It was the production that decided to build this very, very high lighthouse. And now another important behind the scenes. I can tell you that no, I leave the director tell you this behind the scenes very, very rare. With the video, I go.
And then this next day shooting, I think. We were just trying to reproduce it the way, you know, Shamu looks. So I don't know what they were thinking, but we were very sort of confused. And then this next day shooting.
So remember when Roy Scheider is not believed? And the creep scene.
Roy Scheider sees and thinks about things, and everybody thinks he's completely crazy.
What shark?
The shark that did this.
We don't know that, do we?
But he's not crazy. He's right. His phantoms are real.
That's a shark.
Sorry, I just don't see it.
Neither do I. It's nothing.
We felt that we needed something early on that would make the audience kind of jump and get them hooked and give them a taste of things to come. We just prepared this dummy, and then, you know, it was a question of orchestrating the suspense. Even when we storyboarded, I kept on saying, that moment has to be very, very subjective. It's got to really jump at you. And eventually, we had to put people underwater who were literally pushing it, so you get this.
So that's really creepy and a very, very rare, video. And now I keep on showing you other incredible behind the scenes curiosities with videos of the time. Don't worry.
We get Eddie on location. He was cast here in LA.
Here's your blanket.
Don't worry, I immediately arrive at the point. I arrive. So here we are.
From the beginning, I had this thing about being on the shark behind the fin. And so we had a special frame made for the camera, and the frame went on the shark. Well, it didn't work. And finally, I had this idea. I said, let's get a cowboy saddle. We got a cowboy saddle, we put it on the shark, and then the operator did it handheld. He jumped on the saddle. It was hilarious to watch. We just spent the whole day on that shot, and we weren't getting in the sun. The light was getting down. The timing was never right. Because again, you had to let the boat that was pulling the shark go by. Either the boy was pulled too soon and the shark was late. Either the shark was early and it blunted its nose against the buoy. Either it hit the sailboat and suddenly it started doing whatever it wanted. You know, it was not an exact science. Finally, at the end of the day, it was one of the last shots. Things went wrong a little bit, but in the right direction. What happened is the pilot boat made a wider curve. In settling, the shark was much more parallel, and we had this incredible approach. And you can see the mouth open. It's unbelievable. Just as they pull And he was white as a sheet, because he suddenly was inside the mouth of that huge beast. I mean, I got goosebumps watching it.
So now I make see another curiosities about. Do you remember the heartbreaking scene where Margie's sacrifices her life to save the little Sean? That scene was very difficult to shoot, and now I immediately make you see how.
Helicopter this time.
I came up with the idea where really the shark obliterates this person, and then that person is gone. That was a very, very difficult shot, because what happened is, this was with the luxurious shark, and we had to put the shark in position so that when it came out, it would be the right angle. Then what was happening is that that shark had to come out, and she had to be pulled back down by some underwater divers at the same time. I think it took us a whole day to do that one shot, because we got it, but it never worked exactly. I mean, she was early, the shark was late. At that point, I didn't know whether it would work or not, or what impact. I just had this idea, and then when we saw it, it was just incredible how strong it was, and how economical, because it's one shot.
I'm sorry, Larry. Thinking about this.
And now, poor Margie. And now, the platform built that risked when it went adrift and risked to finish in Cuba waters. I make you see everything. I make you see everything immediately. It's really incredible.
È la mia linea di prodotti pensata per prendersi cura di te in modo naturale.
Just one second, and
Saluta a tutti.
here we are. Excuse me, just a second. Here we are again.
Cable junction's ahead. Can we make it? I don't know.
We needed an island, and even if we could find an island, we couldn't shoot an island with the shark mechanism, because the shark sat on a platform and it moved like that. So islands come off like this, so we couldn't get close to the island. But if it's on a barge, the shark could get real close to the island because it has no bottom. The island was like two huge barges, and I got to tell you, this was like a major build. It was incredible. You know, I don't know, thousands and thousands of square feet of fiberglass rock, and we had this old aged structure on it.
And we anchored it in this place. And of course, suddenly the Coast Guard's got a lot of calls about people who used to go fishing there all their lives and suddenly see this island that they never seen before. And then the weather got really, really bad. And one night, I remember I was awakened by the Coast Guards, and the island had broken all its chains. The Coast Guard said, Jeannot, your island is on its way to Cuba right now. So they had to send other boats to go and bring the island back. I think it was the next morning after the island was on its way to Cuba, I suddenly got this call, and Joe and I rushed to where the platform shark was. The ocean was so bad that the platform was like this. It was on its side, and there were divers holding it with lines to prevent it from toppling over. And if it would have toppled over, it would have been the end of the luxurious shark yet. But eventually got it back down.
as in the case with Jaws, we still were able to master the shark swimming away. So we used some of Ron and Valerie Taylor's footage, similar to what we had used in Jaws. That footage always worked for us. Whenever we need a little bit of something, you know, a little bit of movement, speed that we couldn't produce with our mechanical shark, we had that great footage that they had done.
We were all in Navarre Beach. We'd been there from August 1st. We were there till December 22nd.
And now I make you see another incredible Curiosities that they finished the movie on December, so
in order to finish the picture, because we still had all of
they had to finish the movie.
So finally someone came to the studio, the idea that we would work without a break. The crew asked me, I said, will you give us your word that no matter what, you will not shoot past December 22nd? So I gave my word. And then I told Zanuck, I said, look, we're going to be working straight, so there's got to be a party every Saturday night, so we know it's Saturday night. And we worked 22 days without a break. We broke down the end of the shark in chunks. So we did the approach, getting the shark in position. Now, the whole blowing up had to be done separately. It was a special head that you put around the cable, you know, it was tied, and then you blew up. And that was the last shot. It was the last shot of the last day before we were taking the charter plane the next day to leave the location. And we had to shoot it when the light was low, something to do with the exposure of the explosion. So we're trying, I had I think 6 cameras, and everybody, the whole crew is around. Michael Butler is looking at the horizon, says you got 2 minutes left. And I said, okay, we go, and they put the wires, and we had a battery malfunction. And I really thought everybody was going to kill me. And then suddenly the assistant and I swim together, get the boat battery. So the special effects guy, he switched the battery very quickly. This was like a movie, you know. The light is going down, the light is going down, and finally, that night we had a huge party, and the next day we took the charter and went home.
So, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart, my followers, friends, viewers. See you soon. Stay tuned.
More of the development.